To learn more about my play, Open Fist Theater, and Together LA Virtual Theater Festival, watch this video. I originally wanted to be an actress, and so I had fallen in love with theater and pretending and acting. It was always part of my childhood. And then when I got to junior high and high school, I wanted to be an actress. And I did write things, but I really wanted to be an actress. So then when it came time for me to go to college, my mother said, "Can you sing like Judy Garland? Can you dance like Eleanor Powell?" "No, you can't. So don't waste your time and, find something to fall back on." So at that first crossroads in my life, I listened to my parents, and I wasn't a theater major, but I still, I loved theater, and I always went to the theater, and I started teaching theater, and I taught it in elementary school, and then I decided that I was going to get my secondary degree, and I would teach it in high school. And in the meantime, I started taking classes at UCLA Extension towards a theater arts major, because I thought that would help me with teaching. And then I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And my husband at the time was very, very supportive. And he said, "Look, you're in your 20s, give it a shot. See what happens. You can teach part-time on the side, you can substitute teach, but give it a shot." So I did. And I spent a few years, taking acting class and dance class, and I absolutely loved it. But to tell you the truth, I really was not that great of an actress. And at the time, I started writing material for myself. That's how I got back into writing. And I actually was a stand-up comedian for a while. And I wrote all the material myself. And then I met someone who was a very big television producer, and he brought me in a stack of his current TV shows. And he said, "Read these, write a spec script, you'll make $1 million in television." So I did. I never ended up making the $1 million, but I had a career in television. And then I also was writing screenplays that didn't sell. But again, back to it, my first love was always theater. And then I had a daughter who was drawn to theater and dance as well. And when she was about 14, I sent her to Idlewild Arts for the summer. And she came back with, "I wrote a play, I'm directing it, I'm producing it, and we're putting it on in my drama class in 8th grade." And then I started to think to myself, if she can do this, I need to get back to it, because I've always had a lot of stories inside of me that I wanted to tell. And so I went back and I wrote my first professional play, and it got produced, and the rest is history. I like the format of plays because I'm not a totally narrative writer, which is what is in books. There's many ways to tell a story. You can tell a story narratively, like in books. You can tell a story visually, like in a movie or a television show. Or you can tell a story through dialogue. And that's the kind of writer I am. I guess I like it because it comes the easiest to me. And I've always been told you have an ear for dialogue, and you can express who your characters are through dialogue. And that's why I like that process. And that's why that process speaks to me. What's my process? My process is that I usually get some notion or some idea of something that is bubbling up inside me. And then when I have that idea, I start doing like the research period of like, reading things, reading other plays, watching movies, doing research around that particular subject, till something sparks in me, like a road in how I could go. Then, if all goes well, I write a first draft, and I always have gone by. I'm not someone who writes like outlines or cards or anything like that. I kind of let my characters lead me, and I've always been very lucky that the muse is on my shoulder and kind of leads me along. Like some people said about my play No Word in Guyanese for Me, which was about a gay Guyanese Muslim. How could you ever write this? And I said, I don't know. She just lived inside of me, and it was on the page. So then after I write the first draft, which hopefully it comes out, I mean, I kind of know where I'm going and what I want to say, but I don't know what the path is going to be. Then when I finally have a first draft, I have a reading, a very informal reading. I either do it in a writer's group, or I invite actors and a couple of my go-to writer friends over to my house to hear it, and I give them lunch, and then I say, what do you think? And then I begin the process of development, which is, it's been described as me as like having a block of marble and chipping away until you finally find the statue within. And that's what I do in my development process. I put it all in the first draft, which they call the vomited out first draft. And I kind of follow the bird by bird, and what happens next and what happens next. I don't worry about, going back or, oh, I need to change this or whatever. My goal is to get to the end. But then in the development process, I have a number of readings, staged readings, et cetera, until I start to find the play. And I refine and I refine and I refine. And then when I'm lucky enough to go into production, the play is by no means finished. And I look at the rehearsal period on a new play as more development. And if you have a smart director and smart actors, it's a very collaborative process. And I love that process. That's so fun. That's like the most fun of anything until we find the play. And then there we are on opening night. And then like the play at that's going up at International City Theater, it's the second production. In the second production, you can go back and fix the things that the audience told you was not working or was working in the first production. So I was so grateful to go on to the next production. And like my mentor was Gordon Davidson. And he just taught me so much about process and playwriting, and he always said the second production is so much harder to get than the first production, and that's the truth. But it's an ongoing process. It's never done. I never say this is it, it's in stone. And even when it's been published, I have a play that was published and we did a virtual performance of it at the beginning of the summer, and I'd learned so many new things about it. And I said, wow, I wish it weren't published because I learned all these new things about it. So that's my process. I first heard about Open Fist. I'd seen some of their productions. I love Martha Dempson. And we've just we hit it off. Lucy Pollock, in fact, said, I want you to meet Martha Dempson. She lives near you, and I think you're really going to like her. So we just had coffee a few times. And then when the opportunity came that I had something to submit to her, which was one of my plays, I submitted to her, and they put it in their first look festival. And that was like the first real step of development for me. And working with them was such a pleasure. I mean, I just love Martha. I love her sensibility. I love Amanda Weir, who's directing the Viduy. And I just liked them so much. And they were actually supposed to do another developmental project with one of my new plays, but it was part of what got canceled because of COVID. And then Martha and I have stayed in touch, as friends, and what are you doing and what are you doing? And then, when this came up, she said, do you have anything? And I sent her a couple of things, and they really connected with the Viduy. Amanda Weir's direction on this is so exquisite. I mean, it took my breath away, really. It took my breath away. We didn't do a huge amount of development on it. I read it through once with the actor who is also exquisite. And as I heard it, I was sparked with a couple of little, like, what do you think about this? And they had a couple of little, like, I have a question about that. And we really just went through it one time like that. And then I was just blown away by what they did. And I'm really excited and really proud about it. The story came from a couple of different sources. It first came from, I have a 30-year-old daughter-in-law who I, of course, love dearly. And she and my son live in Washington, D.C. They're both journalists. And we went and visited them just at the end of March, just when you were starting to hear some stuff about it. And a week or two after we got home, my son said to me, yeah, Elizabeth is not feeling good. She was like sleeping all weekend. And then we found out that whoever sat next to her in her office tested positive, and she got it. And she was so sick. 30 years old, perfect health. My son, thank God. I mean, they were in a little apartment in DC that they never planned on being in. This little apartment, they planned on both being in their offices, but then COVID came. And, luckily he either never got it or he was asymptomatic and he ended up testing negative. But she was so sick. And her mother and I were kind of frantic. And she started to get worse. And there was a Friday when they said, we've had a video conference with the doctor, and they said we should come in and she should be tested. So they bundled her up and they walked, and she was tested, and she was like, I can't breathe. And she was having, they tested her oxygen level, and luckily her oxygen level, thank God, was still up. But I remember that Friday, and her mother and I were just frantic. And I'm Jewish, but, in the last few years, I since my kids have grown up, I stopped lighting Shabbat Friday night candles. The rabbi who I was so connected with during my kids growing up, and who has been very supportive of me in theater, by the way, he had retired, so I wasn't really involved in the synagogue anymore. And that Friday, I was so frantic that I called the rabbi, and I told him what happened. And there's a prayer called Misha Bayrak, which is where you ask for blessings for a person's health and for renewal of their health and renewal of their spirit. And I said, please, will you just say it for her? And I was I was crying, and I was just so upset. And that Friday night, for the first time in such a long time, I lit Shabbat candles, and I said the Misha Bayrak for her as well. And I've done it every Friday night since, because she has recovered, but she has not fully recovered. She still is 6 months later having chest pains and using a inhaler. And she went for an echocardiogram, and she went for chest x-rays, and they couldn't find anything. But now they know, that these things are lingering on. And so I was kind of within the character of the doctor who at the beginning of the play is, so discouraged and feels so helpless. And then, I started reading the obituaries, the New York Times and the LA Times, like features, like people. And I started reading those because there was a theater project in town where they were asking people to write monologues out of their obituaries, and they were going to read it to honor the people's names. And then I stumbled upon an article about a doctor in New York who is also a rabbi, and he was asked to perform the Viduy, for his patients. So I took the concept of somebody who was the only person who could do something for these people, and kind of mushed it up together with somebody frantic and who has lost the light. And that's how it came out. Amanda just sent me the actor. Ron Knolla, Knolla, is the actor, and she just sent me a picture of him, the picture that you have, and she said, "This is who's going to play it. Any objections? He's really great. I worked with him." And I was like, "No, of course not. I trust you," And the first time, I heard it through with him, I was like, "Wow, this guy just gets it," and it was just wonderful. And Amanda has worked with him more on, the little tiny pieces here and there. And then we got to the part where, he's going to go in, he meets the patient. And then I got this idea, and I said, what if we gave the patient a name so we could honor the patient by saying his name? And he said, "Oh, that's a good idea." And I said, "Well, let's not use any real people because that's kind of creepy, And then he had thought about it, and he asked if he could use the name of his grandfather. And because he felt like that would honor him. He died a few years ago, but he felt like that would honor him. But he wanted to check with his mother, to see if it was okay with her. And the next time we came back and convened together, he said, yeah, it was okay with her. And he went through it and used the name of his grandfather, and it became so much more personal for him. So I'm stunned by him. I would work with him again in a heartbeat. I think he's an actor who has a very easy time accessing the emotions in him, and he felt it rather than played it. I want the audience, and this was another thing that Amanda came up with, and I want the audience to, Amanda said she's at best a lapsed Catholic. But it made her feel more in touch with her faith, with faith and light. And loss of faith and finding a way to regain the light and to regain the faith. And I want the audience to come away with, no matter what faith they are or what drives their belief in the light, you know, to maybe be a little bit optimistic that we can still find it.
Why must the SoCal Los Angeles audience watch your play and the rest of the festival?
Because this is all we have right now. And we need to stay connected. And the fact that 43 theaters in Southern California are coming together and all having an offering, and they're all, you know, they're all timely pieces. And I think we need to stay connected to theater. It's got, you know, it's every day we get an invitation. Oh, watch this, or oh, we're doing this, or, you know, from all these different places. And now all these theaters have come together with the common purpose of preserving Los Angeles theater. We had such a vibrant Los Angeles theater scene, and so many good things are going on, and there's experimental, and there's classic, and there's original, and there's world premieres, and there's, you know, second productions, and there's big productions, and there's small productions, and they're all coming together with a common purpose that we need to continue to promote Los Angeles theater and stay connected to it till we can go back again. And who knows when we can go back again, but we're all praying for the day that we can go back again. It's changed our lives so much. I mean, I know, at least for me, I go to play at least once a week, and some weeks 3 times a week. You know, my life is on the stage. My life is saying, I'm going to rehearsal. I'm going to be in rehearsal. I mean, which are the best words in the whole world to me. But it's important what these 43 theaters are doing and working together, and the artistic directors are meeting once a week. They've been meeting once a week to try to stay connected and try to use other people's ideas and all that kind of thing, you know, to keep us connected and to keep LA theater alive.
Tell me the importance of why people should support Los Angeles theater and local theaters.
Because they live in Los Angeles. and the arts are so important. The arts are our soul. The arts are our deepest wishes, and our, you know, and our ability to work out the human situation by watching it on stage. I mean, it's kind of like, why do I want to listen to other people's plays? You know, because I want to hear how they handle the human situation, and it's the human condition, and it's bringing the light, and it's stimulating conversation, and it's stimulating thinking, and it's stimulating our hope for our future. I mean, it's the whole spectrum of the human condition. And LA theater does that, whether it's I've been to theater where there's 6 seats in it. And I've been to the Amundsen, you know, and every step of the way and everything in between feeds our souls. And our souls need feeding so badly right now, more than anything. And it's awful that during this time, the things that feed our souls, you know, theater, music, the Hollywood Bowl in the summer where we all stand up together and sing the Star-Spangled Banner, the baseball games, sports, all these things that keep us connected as a community and as a people are are so challenged right now. And the fact that we don't have those things right now is just a travesty. But we need to do everything we can to keep it alive, to keep our hearts beating, and to keep us to be able to see the light. Hi, I'm Wendy Graf, and I am thrilled my play, The Viduy, which is being promoted by Open Fist Theater Company and Together LA, a virtual stage festival. And my play is going up on Saturday night, October 3rd at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Together LA, a virtual stage festival, is 43 Los Angeles theaters banding together to participate, and each theater is promoting a 10-minute play about our current times right now over the course of 3 weeks. So I hope that you will support the entire festival. You can access the schedule of plays, and you can find out how to register for your free ticket, how to get the link to the festival at www.togetherlafestival.com. And I hope everyone will participate, because theater and LA theater is so important for our souls and for finding the light during these challenging days.